Congratulations on the show.
Thank you.
I was going to ask you about casting, but I wanted to start by casting by saying how long you and George took to make sure you got the right continuity person in, given the Starbucks gate in Game of Thrones. That was such a funny moment. I mean,
it's one of those sort of it's like a bad joke, I guess. And look, I mean, the amount of attention to detail that goes into making a television show. Yes, that escaped view of everybody. But I mean, I would say, like, go back and watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. You will see camera people. You will see PAs in contemporary dress hustling extras along. I mean, the amount of stuff that's in Gladiator, there's a
guy in jeans.
Yeah, and the cameraman in the shot, because Ridley Scott very famously has 12 cameras on everything. So eventually you have a camera looking at a camera. It's just the nature of filmmaking, but because of we're in the age of the internet, in the age of the freeze frame and the digital copy and everything, it leads to much more scrutiny, and it is what it is. To me, these are the charming artifacts of filmmaking, and not everything is perfect. In The Abyss, there's in the midst of, like, the most emotional scene in the film, when Ed Harris is trying to revive Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio, somebody actually wipes the moisture off the lens because it's humid, and because you're so sucked into the scene, you don't actually see it happen. So, I mean, hopefully everybody was very sucked into the drama that was going on, but yes, no, we have very antsy, very anxious, hardworking standbys in set deck and art department that are always running around looking for those bogeys, as we would call them, left all over the set.
Yeah. Take me back to your kind of beginnings in terms of the films that you grew up loving, because I read that you were, in terms of your writing, like, there was Hercules, and you went on to do work on Rampage and all that kind of stuff. When you were younger, was these the kind of movies that you grew up loving, hence why you've kind of dived into?
For sure. Less, I think, Hercules and Rampage. More like Indiana Jones and Blade Runner and Aliens and Star Wars, of course. Yeah, I mean, I grew up on genre, escapist entertainment, I would say. Going to the theater house on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon and disappearing into the dark for 2 hours into a world of weird that offered things that didn't exist in our real world. And I was always thinking about that stuff and creating stories and reading science fiction and fantasy books and comic books and all that growing up. It was just that was what activated me. So yes, I would say, of all the things that I've been credited with, probably my television shows, Colony and this, are closest to me as a film goer.
In terms of over the 2 seasons, has there been a moment or something that you guys knew that was coming, that was going to be a big undertaking, that you were so happy that you managed to pull off? Because there's so much in this series, fantasy elements and also the character elements. But is there a moment where you're just like, I can't believe we managed to pull that off?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that it falls to the crew, and I'm very lucky to work with this incredible sort of gold standard British film crew. I mean, when you look at the credits of all the heads of department that work on the show, these are British film people, and the work shows. So when you mount a very particularly complex sequence, like one of the battles in the show or something like that, the people that are executing it are the stunts and special effects and visual effects. All those people are at the very top of their game. So I get to sit back and just watch it kind of come together. I think the trick with all of those things is the writing, because that's the thing that sort of falls on me, and that's what we, the writers, are responsible for. So when you're mounting a giant sequence like that, you want to make sure that you're going in with the right script pages, so that the sequence isn't just spectacular and dazzling, which it should be given the people involved and the money we're spending on it, but that it's dramatically satisfying. And I think that's always the trick that's following us. And from the smallest dramatic scene to the overall story arc of the show, those are the things that really sit most with me as the writer showrunner, because that's the thing that I can't look to anybody else other than the small group of writers that sit with me to make good, and that's the thing that we're responsible for. So I think it's when you see an episode come together, or when you see a sequence come together, and not only is it dazzling, but the story works. That's the satisfying thing.
What's been the best thing about the relationship you've formed with George in this? Because you spent all these years together bringing it to life. And obviously he's had the shows before, and he's had his own TV shows and stuff like that. What's been the most rewarding thing for you about working with him over the couple of years you've been together so far?
I think for me there was a singular moment very early in the process when I think I passed across the first outline which was a very detailed outline for what the pilot would be, and he raved about it. I mean, I got this very nice, very detailed email response with lots of notes, but no, he was really thrilled with it, and the voice that I had struck when, of course, I'm mimicking his voice, or trying to a combination of his voice and then also, the way it was dramatized for the original television series. So it's trying to the syntax from his world, but also trying to make it feel like David and Dan's Game of Thrones world, and like walking the middle line of that. And just his very enthusiastic response. I mean, that's always sat with me, because I was sort of like, okay, well, after here, like, if we never go to series or pilot, and if the show gets canceled, I will have that, and that meant a whole lot to me.
Obviously, you're very fascinated with the Targaryen story. Are you allowed to have favourites when you're kind of writing it and producing it? Are you allowed to have favourites, or do you have to kind of be like, no, it's all of them. I like all of them. Or are you allowed to say you have a favourite?
It's like picking your favourite child.
Children, yeah.
Yes. So, no, I mean, look, we've written these characters for many years now, so I think we have a great love for everybody that we write story for. And there's certain ones that I gravitate to, more in terms of the storytelling, just as they sync up, particularly with my tonal sensibility. But it has little to do with, I guess, less to do with the character and more just to do with sort of my wiring. But no, I mean, I enjoy all of them for different reasons, and in fact, I enjoy the ones that I not understand less, but I think that I have less in common with, because it makes for a writing challenge, and I welcome creative challenges like that. But no, we can talk about favorite characters from the original series, because I didn't work on that one. So how about that?
Okay, let's have that then.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite from the original series?
Yeah, the Hound.
Okay,
Sandor Clegane. I just and that goes back to the book. I love his particular arc and story, and I love this idea of a kind of a true villain character that's slowly revealed to have not only a very clear and cynical point of view on the idea of honor and chivalry and knighthood, but also there is this kind of code of honor ensconced in that horrific burned visage of his, and I just find him really fascinating as an archetype from sort of a lesser series. That archetype would just be the villain with the burned face, and I love how George turned that on his ear, makes you hate him and fear him, and then turns it on his ear and makes you really start to empathize with him and see him as kind of an anti-hero character.
Yeah. Just very quickly at the end, obviously you've done 2 series now. Do you know where, obviously you're doing a prequel, so you know where the end point is, but do you know where your end point is in terms of your creative output on this particular story?
Yes. I think in the exercise of breaking and writing season 2, we got to the place where we now know where we're going. And as I always say, this is a history. So the Targaryen dynasty, of course, marches on for 150 years after this. It's not to say it's the end of everything. It's just there are chapters in history that you have to find a place to drop the curtain on it. World War II, ends with the Japanese surrender and peace returning to the world. But you can have a World War II movie that ends with the liberation of Paris, or Hitler dying in the bunker. So I think the trick was finding that particular curtain drop, moment in the story where you understand that history marches on. But yes, I think that has clarified itself for us in the breaking of this. So now we know what we're writing to, and I think that just makes for better storytelling.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I wish you all the best. Thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!
Hey You Guys!